Breaking news right out of Ontario. Premier Doug Ford has just announced that the HST will be completely waived on all new homes. We're talking about the full 13% tax gone. Kaput, sayonara. Wow. And depending on that price of your home, this could put up to $130,000 back in your pocket. If you're a home buyer, a builder, an investor, or just someone who's trying to get into the market, you need to hear this. Stay with me because I'm going to break down everything that you're going to need to know. So let's start from the top. This morning, Doug Ford held a press conference in Mississauga, and he dropped what might be the biggest housing announcement Ontario has seen in years. The full 13% HST. That's the sales harmonized tax. It will be completely removed on purchases of new homes. Now, to understand why this is such a big deal, you have to understand what HST actually does to the price of a new home. When you buy a brand new home in Ontario, you don't just pay the purchase price. You pay HST on top of that. So an $800,000 home, you're looking at over $100,000 in tax alone. That's not your mortgage. That's not your down payment. That is purely tax. And for years, that has been one of the biggest and most single barriers keeping people out of the new home market. Builders have been screaming about this for many years. Buyers have been crushed by it. And today, Ford said enough is enough. Now let's get into the details because the details here really matter. This HST exemption applies to the new homes valued of up to $1.5 million. If you are under $1.5 million, you are eligible for a maximum rebate of $130,000. Now, if your home falls between $1.5 million and $1,850,000, you will still get the reduced rebate, so you're not completely left out. And if your home is above $1,850,000, there is still $24,000 rebate available under the pre-existing program that was already in place. So no matter what price range you're shopping in, there is some relief here for you. But here's where the timing becomes critical. To qualify for this, your purchase agreement with your builder must be signed between April 1st of 2026 and March 31st of 2027. That is a 1-year window. 1 year. So the clock is already ticking. On top of that, construction on your home needs to begin on or before December 31st of 2028. And the home needs to be substantially completed by December 31st of 2031. So you've got a bit of a runway on the construction side. But that purchase agreement window is April 26th to March of 2027. That is a key date you really need to circle on your calendar. And who exactly qualifies? The home needs to be used as a primary resident or as a residential rental property. So this isn't just for people buying a home to live in. If you're an investor buying a new build to rent out, you can also qualify. That is huge for the rental market because it makes new rental construction significantly more financially viable for investors and developers. Now let's talk about the money side of this in real terms because I want you to really feel what this announcement really means. On a $700,000 new home, you were previously looking at roughly $91,000 in HST. That's now zero. On a $900,000 home, you were paying close to $117,000 in tax. Kaput, it's gone. On a home right at the $1 million mark, that's the sweet spot of a lot of new construction in the GTA. You're looking at $130,000 in HST. And under this new announcement, that is completely eliminated. Think about what $130,000 means to a buyer. That's a large down payment. That's years of mortgage payments. That's financial breathing room that simply didn't exist before today. For a lot of people, especially young families, first-time buyers, and people looking to upsize, that tax was the wall. It was a thing standing between them and home ownership. And today, that wall just came down. Now let's zoom out and look at the big economic picture because Ford didn't just do this so he can feel good. He didn't do it for political reasons. There's a serious economic strategy behind this move. The province is projecting that this HST exemption will stimulate approximately 8,000 new housing starts in the next year alone. Think about what that means for construction industry. We're talking about thousands of workers, framers, electricians, plumbers, concrete crews, roofers, all getting back to work with new projects. The province estimates that this could support up to 21,000 jobs and inject $2.7 billion in Ontario's GDP. So this isn't just a housing policy. This is an economic stimulus package disguised as a tax break. Ford is trying to kickstart a construction industry that has been stalling out for the last couple of years, as high interest rates and development charges made new builds financially unviable for a lot of developers. And speaking of development charges, Ford specifically called out municipalities that have been working to reduce the charges. He mentioned Vaughan Mayor Stephen Del Duca's name as an example of local leaders taking the right steps. So if you're in the Vaughan area or anywhere in the GTA, pay attention, because your local municipality's approach to development charges is going to work hand in hand with the provincial announcement. Now, I do want to be transparent with you about one important thing. This announcement is tied to the provincial budget, which gets tabled tomorrow on March 26th. That means this still needs to pass as legislation. It's not law yet. Now, Ford's progressive conservatives hold a majority government, so the expectation is that this budget will pass. But until it does, technically, this is still a proposal. That said, Ford announced this publicly and loudly, so walking it back would be extremely difficult politically. For all intents and purposes, you should be treating this as it's happening. So what should you actually do with this information right now? If you're a buyer who has been sitting on the fence about purchasing a new build, this changes your math dramatically. Get back on the phone with your realtor or your builder. Run the new numbers. What looked unaffordable 6 months ago might now be in reach. If you're already in the process of buying a new home and your agreement hasn't been signed yet, make sure your timelines line up with the April 1st start date. Talk to your builder about where things stand. If you're an investor looking at new construction rental properties, this opens up a conversation worth having. The numbers on the new build rentals just got a lot more interesting. If you're a builder or developer, expect the phones to start ringing. Buyer confidence in the new construction is about to get a significant boost, and you want to be ready for the demand. The bottom line here is simple. Ontario just made it materially cheaper to buy a new home. This is not a small tweak, guys. This is not a minor adjustment to an existing rebate program. This is a full removal of a 13% tax on one of the biggest purchases most people will ever make in their lives. And it is available right now for the next 12 months. We are going to continue following this story closely as the budget gets tabled tomorrow. And as more details come out, there may be additional measures in the budget that complements this announcement. So stay tuned. Follow the OP team for all the updates as this develops. We'll keep you informed every step of the way.